I'm trying to compete with Mr. Beast. I mentioned the Sidemen boys. I'm gonna get more subscribers than Sidemen, and I'm also gonna get more views. I've got more views than Sidemen in a month. So now I just need to get more subscribers. There's always like a Harry Styles, you know, in One Direction, or a Beyonce in Destiny's Child. You could argue I am that of the Sidemen.
So Speed as a person is more famous.
And I disagree. Who do you think's more famous? Me or Speed?
Speed, mate.
You're mental, bro.
I'm about to call him and ask him, bro.
Yo, Speed!
Yo, KSI, I'm live right now.
Hey, yo, real quick. Yo, say hello to all my KSIs!
What the fuck?
What's your favorite numbers?
Bro, if you don't get...
This is KSI, stuck in a psychological loop that he can't even see. It's the same loop that just made him walk away from the Sidemen, potentially the most important thing in his life. But he isn't even aware of it. And if you've ever wanted to do something great with your life, you might be caught in the same loop without even realizing it. I won't be covering KSI's full life story. Plenty of other videos do that. Instead, we're going inside his mind. We're gonna see where this loop originated and trace it through his entire career. Along the way, you'll realize just how much psychological pain this loop has caused him and the pain it's gonna keep causing him if he doesn't fix it. And then I'll show you exactly how we can break it with a solution. By the end, you'll understand KSI's mind better than even he does. First, KSI has no fulfillment. To solve it, he searches externally and finds a goal. Then he works really hard and he either wins or loses. If he wins, it only gives him temporary happiness and he's right back to where he started. If he loses, he becomes extremely defensive. His identity is so threatened that he fails to admit that he actually lost. This also leaves him with no fulfillment. But where did this emptiness come from? How has it impacted every single aspect of his career up until this point? And is it too late to stop it? JJ Olatunji was born on June 19th, 1993 in London and raised in a nearby suburb, Watford, to Nigerian parents of Yoruba heritage. Despite being privately educated at Berkhamsted, JJ was a shy, introverted teenager who felt deeply alienated and uncomfortable at school. And this uncomfortability was compounded by intense pressure from his parents. Having worked so hard to transition from a tiny London apartment to a suburban home, they held high standards for their son, demanding that he pursue an education in either medicine or law. To enforce these standards, they even physically punished him, which KSI has openly spoken about. Searching for a place where he could be himself, JJ found the internet. In April 2008, he started his first channel, Jai Jr., and a year later, in July 2009, he registered KSI LOGWT. At this point, JJ's motivation started to shift. Now focused on YouTube, he didn't care about school anymore, but as a result, his grades fell fast. He was failing. Tensions rising, he asked his teacher whether he should drop out. At the time, he was earning around £1,500 a month from his videos, and when he realized that that number was greater than what the teacher was making, his path was set, and he dropped out at 16 years old. Of course, his parents disapproved. Not only dropping out at 16, but being a YouTuber, it couldn't have been further from the path that they had imagined for him. They didn't even understand what YouTube was. All of this became the emotional foundation that the loop was built on. Whether to fit in at school or perform to his parents' expectations, fear, anxiety, and a competitive nature started to shape how he viewed the world. Even today, he says the fear of failing remains a daily anxiety, one he's admitted that he uses to drive him. After 4 years of grinding, KSI's YouTube earnings allowed him to pay off his parents' mortgage and purchase his first home. While this is an incredible accomplishment, it began a lifelong pattern of substituting external achievements for the emotional intimacy and love that he actually needs. This lack of emotional intimacy is also clear in the relationship with his brother and fellow YouTuber, Deji. In November 2018, Deji released a diss track targeting KSI's friend Randolph, leaking his bank details to prove KSI paid for his wedding. This led to a physical altercation between the brothers on Christmas Day that year, where Deji kicked KSI out of the house. Then, in May of 2019, Deji released a video titled Bye, where he claimed that KSI was physically and emotionally abusive, and and nearly drove him to suicide. JJ, of course, denied these claims. But the full truth of these accusations remains unconfirmed. Deji even admitted in a separate video that while there was real tension between them, the feud was amplified to generate more views and money. Another example of using external achievements at the expense of emotional intimacy. And we'll see many more of them throughout this video. While they're on better terms now, this pattern has never left. It's rooted in his childhood and family. But the loop has not only presented itself within his upbringing, it's shown itself in multiple areas of his career. And once you see them, it becomes impossible to unsee. Before moving further, I think it's important that I differentiate between internal and external success. When I talk about external success, I'm talking about survival and status games. More money, more fame, more clout, etc. When I talk about internal success, I'm referring to purpose, fulfillment, a sense of contentment. And we'll see how KSI clearly has one, but not the other. That being said, the loop is very clear across boxing, his business endeavors, and music. Let's investigate. In 2018, after becoming both rich and famous as a successful YouTuber, KSI needed something new to strive for. He first looked towards boxing. He beat Joe Weller, drew and then eventually beat Logan Paul, and went on to beat Swarms, face Temper, and Joe Fournier. But in October 2023, he would face his toughest opponent yet, Tommy Fury. He framed the fight as a crucial moment in his career to prove his athletic abilities. But in a close match, he lost.
Tommy Fury won it. It was a loss because he said he was going to knock out. Control it, KSI, come on.
You'll win the rematch.
Do you want that rematch?
I hate losing.
Instead of accepting his defeat, he reacted by crying during post-fight appeals, complaining about rabbit punches and formally appealing the decision. Since this fight, KSI has not taken another match, and in a January 2026 interview on the Ranveer show, KSI stated that he was done with boxing. He noted that both his body and his hands were broken, and the physical and mental toll of training camps was too grueling. But is this the real reason that he stopped? Or is it just because he lost and can't admit it? After losing in boxing, KSI shifted his focus towards business projects. In January 2022, he founded the drink company Prime with Logan Paul. It was a success. In 2023, the company's worth peaked between $3 and $8 billion. But the success didn't come without controversy. Recently, they faced declining business and legal drama, but maturely enough, KSI has remained relatively silent on this, leaving most of the public controversy to be dealt with by Logan Paul. And the drinks are still sold worldwide. But the same cannot be said about Lunchly. On September 16th, 2024, KSI partnered up with Mr. Beast and Logan Paul to launch Lunchly, marketed as a better-for-you competitor to Lunchables. It would not take long before the controversy came. Minecraft creator Dan TDM criticized the trio on Twitter, saying that they were selling crap to kids who don't know better. Feeling threatened, KSI went on the attack, trying to paint TDM as a hypocrite. He not only found old videos trying to expose him, but posted a 20-minute video claiming that the internet did not even care about the food's nutritional value, and instead simply hated him, Logan Paul, and Mr. Beast. As of July 2026, the company is relatively dead, both in terms of cultural relevance and market share, and is even considered by business analysts to be one of the most high-profile creator business failures of the decade. Of course, businesses fail. Failure is often necessary for entrepreneurs to achieve success, but KSI can't admit that he failed.
What happened to Lunchly? Just seen that the Lunchly X account hasn't posted since April this year. Has Lunchly been as successful in the long run like Prime was? The honest answer, yes.
This goes directly against reports where YouTuber Ryan Pictures revealed how there has been a 97% decline in sales. His music career tells the same story. While KSI started making music in 2015 with his debut single Lamborghini, it didn't evolve from diss tracks until November 2019 when he signed a global deal with RBC Records in order to take his music to the next level. What followed were a string of singles that achieved decent commercial success. Down Like That, featuring Rick Ross, Lil Baby, and SX, peaked at number 10 on the UK singles chart. He then followed this up with 2 albums. The first was The Simulation, which released in May 2020 and debuted at number 2 in the UK, and the second was All Over the Place, which debuted at number 1 in the UK and has been certified gold since, even including a platinum record with Holiday. But this still didn't stop KSI from releasing more music. He wanted more. And for the most part, things were going well. The songs were streaming and the music was getting better. But of course, like everything else in KSI's career, the backlash would eventually come. After not having released music for over a year, KSI was working on a new song, one that would be his comeback anthem, as he put it. And what was that song? Thick of It. It would not end up being the anthem that he expected. At this point in October 2024, KSI was already dealing with the Lunchley backlash, so he was looking to Thick of It to distract and deliver some external fulfillment, but it backfired. The song just was not good, and the entire internet clowned him for it. Quickly becoming a meme, IShowSpeed called it trash, Kai Cenat muted it while listening, and Jake Paul obviously had something to say too. This did not sit well with KSI. He felt threatened and posted a ton of videos and tweets defending himself, claiming that he was unfazed. Later, however, he was quoted saying, "I know it's trending to hate right now, but can we move on?" But the internet didn't stop, and KSI ended up deflecting, leaning into the rage bait for more views and clicks. He then claims that all this defensiveness was just one big marketing strategy. Incredibly, a few months later, the song was even nominated for Song of the Year at the 2025 Brit Awards, where of course he lost, and Jack Whitehall roasted him on live television.
Screen to the ring, to the bend, to the kiss, just chef's kiss. How do you write this stuff?
I just, in the studio,
Quickly,
man.
right? With all of your other commitments. Because you listen to Kendrick Lamar and you're like, I couldn't do that in a million years. And I listen to your song and I'm like, I could do this.
Oh, wow.
Never admitting defeat, KSI responded to this by saying that he won the internet. KSI cannot admit when he fails. It doesn't matter whether it's in boxing, business, or music. It's just too much of a threat to his identity. But what if there was a place where this loop didn't exist? Where he could find fulfillment? Where he didn't risk losing? And where he could just be himself? JJ met Simon Minter in 2005 at 12 years old while attending Berkhamsted School. However, they didn't get along to such an extent that they literally fought each other in the classroom. As punishment, the teachers made them sit together, and shortly after they became best friends. 7 years later, in 2012, JJ, his YouTube channel growing, needed help filming real life skits, and Simon wanted to help. He stepped in as cameraman and collaborator while still in university. That winter, Simon was introduced to JJ's online friend, Josh, and Josh's childhood friend, Toby, and their friend groups merged. Inspired by their momentum, Simon dropped out of school, started a channel of his own, and moved in with JJ to collaborate full time. And around this time, the YouTube gaming scene started to explode. They began playing together online, where they met Ethan and Vicstar, and on October 19th, 2013, the Sidemen were born. Harry joined the group soon after in early 2014, and what started as a group of friends playing GTA 5 evolved into a multi-million-dollar content empire. Over the next decade, the group created thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of content pieces. And today, their main channel has over 20 million subscribers and an extraordinary loyal fan base. For JJ, the Sidemen were an emotional anchor. He wasn't required to maintain his mainstream persona. They accepted KSI for who he was. JJ has even acknowledged this, referring to the group as his second family. The group even set up their corporate structure where all 7 members would share revenue equally. This framework forced JJ to participate in a system where his value was equal to all of his peers, directly the opposite of all of his solo endeavors. On the surface, everything looked perfect. And of course, it's impossible to know their relationships underneath the surface, but one can only assume with this much consistency that things were generally going well, which makes the news over the last month even more crazy. In this farewell video, he frames his departure as burnout. He says, "I feel like I've been running at full speed at 100 miles per hour, that I've started losing the balance in my own life, and I'm finding it hard to find time for my family and my partner." But 6 days later, the Sidemen released their own statement saying that the exit did not happen in the way that they wanted it to, and that ideally they would have had the opportunity to give KSI a proper farewell video to celebrate everything they built together. Moreover, Samuel Robert, the long-term financial manager of the Sidemen, was terminated on May 27th, 4 days before KSI left. and consequently, balance sheets revealed 5.9 million pounds in assets being wiped. So clearly, there's merit in KSI's reasoning. With the amount of content that the Sidemen create, not only on their main channel, but on Side Plus, combined with KSI's own content, it likely was too much for him to balance. The situation was not black and white, but his departure did show where his priorities lie. His behavior directly contradicts his words. There has been no slowdown in the content on his own channel, and if anything, he's putting out more than before. And ironically, he has stated the actual goal that he wants to become the next Mr. Beast. From my perspective, and from what we've seen so far in his career, this is another textbook example of KSI entering his own loop yet again. But the audience is already seeing through it, and it shows in the numbers. In the weeks since the announcement, his views have dropped, only averaging 1.8 million across his last 9 videos, down from 3.3 million the month before, while the Sidemen's view counts have remained fairly stable. From his perspective, the decision might already be backfiring. It'll only be a matter of time where he becomes defensive again once he perceives himself as losing, except this time, it's at the expense of his brotherhood. At this point, the KSI loop is very obvious. External win, never enough. External loss, massive identity threat. And while the goals may differ, whether in boxing, music, or becoming the next Mr. Beast, the psychology behind it is always the same. But is KSI even aware of it? It seems that he is, but only partially. While not entirely blind to it, he appears to be in a state where even if he can notice it, can't stop it. He even spoke about this in his documentary in 2023, where he stated, "I don't think anyone knows who I am, including me." The struggle to separate JJ, a vulnerable human being who loves to entertain and is full of joy, from KSI, the ego-driven, undefeated, yet extremely fragile internet persona, was a focus of his therapy from 2020 to 2022, where his therapist helped him recognize how his fear of failure was a direct result of his upbringing, presenting itself most recently in the contradiction between his words and his actions for leaving the Sidemen. KSI continues to measure his worth against status, views, and external metrics. Viewing life in this way contorts his perception of reality, so much so that it's quite possible that KSI is blind to what he's even risking. The community that he's built around his name and brand, the entertainment that he provides, the laughter that he evokes, the friendships he's built, and most importantly, the brotherhood that served as his second family. I don't claim to have a solution for KSI's situation, but I can offer some basic advice. While I certainly haven't achieved the external achievements that KSI has, I too have placed way too much worth on my external success, and maybe you can relate with that as well. Over the last 2 years, my failures at achieving my external pursuits have led me down an incredible path of studying spirituality and developmental psychology. Using some of the insights I've gained, here is what I would tell KSI. The first step is awareness. One of the hardest things for a human being to do is to see their own biases, their own behavior patterns. And if you identify with your mind, it can almost be impossible to see. And while KSI seems partially aware, he likely isn't aware enough. Second, KSI should redefine what winning is for him, because no matter what path he goes on, there will always be someone bigger and better than him, and no win will ever be enough. Third, he should recognize what he already has, the community, the fan base, the Sidemen, and realize the weight and importance that they hold. He should reposition the way that he builds, but he won't be able to do this until he completes the first 2 steps. Because currently, he hasn't actually internalized the value of what he has enough for it to drive decisions. And fourth, he should shift his mindset. Instead of constantly asking for things from the world, he should instead be giving. Move from asking for views and attention to actually giving the entertainment he is already providing to millions of people, and figuring out how he can amplify that. If he follows these steps, then what he is building will feel more authentic. He won't have to defend himself all the time, because what he's doing will feel genuine. The process itself will be fulfilling. It will feel like giving. And isn't that what we're all meant to be doing anyways? As I was writing this video, KSI made a post on Instagram, potentially displaying signs of change. He captioned the post, doing what I love with great people. This is the best job in the world, and I appreciate all the love and support you all give me. But is this actually genuine? I'm not sure. I hope it is. Whether KSI breaks his cycle and finds a more sustainable path to happiness remains the central question of his life. He stands at a crossroads that will define not only his external career, but determine how fulfilled he is internally. Regardless, I hope that he develops the awareness of the loop that he is caught in and can start moving towards a frame of mind where he is contributing instead of taking. Thank you for watching.